Hello, welcome to the Shade Tree Machinist Shop. My name is John. What I was going to show you today was I was going to make a screw that goes on a vise that has been broken. A friend of mine was wanting to see if I could make this. And actually, I got to show you. I ended up starting it. This is it right here, partially finished. But then when I started checking it, it wasn't even coming close, and I was pretty close to being done with it. And the screw, or the nut for it, this is a vise nut, and when I went to try to start it on, it wouldn't even come close. And then further inspecting it, I noticed that it's a double thread. I didn't see that before, so yeah. Back up and punt. I chuck up some more metal, and we're gonna reaccomplish this and do it on a double thread, and also it's a square thread. It's a thread that's not used very much anymore, and today's machinist handbooks, it's got a very small section on it that don't tell a whole lot. So I had to do a little bit of research and found a clip out of an older version that give a little bit more detail on square threads. And what I found out, majority of square threads is not really a true square. They're on a occluded angle of 10 degrees. It's similar to an Acme thread, but a lot closer to a square thread. So I ended up grinding a bit for it to cut it, and it's the same as this one, except this is just a single thread, so we can't use it. Chucked up another piece, and we'll get set up. What I'm going to do, got it chucked up in my forge awl. Going to face this off, put a center hole in it, turn it around, face that end off, put a center hole, and I'm going to be cutting it, turning it between centers. And I have a drive plate that fits this lathe that has 2 slots in it for setting up for cutting a 2-start thread. So I'll show you how that works when we get to that point. But right now we're going to turn her down. Also, I was wanting to tell you a little bit about my lathe. It's a 1954 Monarch. It's a fairly big lathe. It's a 22.5-inch swing, 48 inch between centers. So this is a 17-inch forge awl. Also I have a 12-inch 3-jaw and a 20-inch face plate for it, and also the drive plate for turning between centers. You can also turn between centers on a chuck like this one. You can do a 4 thread start thread and a 2, and then on a 3-jaw you can do a 3 start thread. So, but a drive plate, they work pretty good. Set up, you don't have to make a center piece for it. You just put in a dead center on the drive head, and then you put a live center on, or you can use a dead center on the tailstock, but I've got a live center I'll be using. It's pretty good. The lathe turns from RPM 17 RPMs all the way up to 700. It'll turn threads from 2-inch all the way up to, or 2 threads per inch up to 100 and 120 threads per inch. So that's about it on the lathe. I do have its old DRO that came with it when I purchased it. It didn't work. I had to do some work on it and got it working. So I use it quite often. So we'll get everything set up. I'll get some of this other stuff out of the way and start facing off and getting it ready. Okay, we got set up. I'm going to be starting off with about 264 RPM just to face it off. We're just going to true it up. Got it dialed in pretty good. It's not perfect, but we got a lot of material that we got to move off of this. This is 2-inch. I got to take it the first bit of it when I put it between centers, going to have to end up taking off down to 1 inch and 500 thousandths, inch and a half. Then the part that we're going to turn down that we're going to be threading has got to go down to 743 thousandths to cut a 3/4 inch thread. So we'll get her cranked up and start facing off. Good. I'll bring it in and readjust you here. Use my carriage to push the tailstock back. It's pretty heavy. I don't have a crank for it. It'll be a future project. I'll readjust you. There. This thing's got a lot of divots and scratches on it, so just getting her close. We got a lot of material to take off. Double check, make sure all of them's tight. Touch off. Now we're going to set up for putting the drive plate in. So I'm going to be taking my 4-jaw chuck. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do that, get it set up, and show you the drive plate and install it. Turned off my rotary phase converter. I don't have 3-phase here, so I had to get one of those to run this big lathe. This lathe has a 15 horse motor on it. It's pretty beefy. get all the cam locks done except one. Make sure you can see this. All right, let me bring you up a little bit. Now we got a gantry crane that I built. Originally built it to pull engines, bodies off the vehicle. Comes in real handy. Take these stucks off. This stuck right here is really heavy. Locked up on me. There we go. Clean everything off, get all the chips out of it. And the bore here has a number 5 Morse taper. And I have a number 5 to number 4 Morse taper adapter because my dead center is a number 4. Make sure everything's good and clean. Yeah. my dry plate all cleaned off. I alternate my cam locks just to make sure I get a good even seat. Kind of like tighten up lug nuts on a car. Go around and make sure all of them are seated. That's good. So that's the two slots, and I've got a dog here. I'll end up clamping the bar stock into this. This will slide in here, your center. Or actually, I won't be able to use this one. Don't go high enough. I'll have to find me another one. So basically, I'll just show you how that works. This will, one of these will clamp onto the bar stock that we're going to be turning. You'll put the dead center into the hole of the bar stock, and then your little tang that sticks out will go in the slot here, and that's what will drive it and turn it. And I'll have a live center on the tailstock. So we'll have to find me another one that's going to work, and I'll bring you back. Okay, I've got it in between the centers. I had to modify this dog. I didn't have one else that fit, and there was a bolt originally welded here, but it don't stick out far enough for this drive plate. It's probably for a smaller lathe. So I ended up making a bar, welded it on where it fits in here good. I also labeled the slots 1 and 2 so I can keep track of which thread I'm on. Because once I get the threads, I'll get it down to depth that I got calculated. I'll switch over and cut the second thread to the same depth. Then I can take this out and test it, because it can't stay. Once you take the tailstock away, it just basically falls out. So I got to take it out, test the nut. If it needs to have any more taken out, I'll put it back in number 1, take a cut or two, take it out, put it over on the slot 2 to cut the second thread down to the same amount, and keep doing that, repeating it, sneaking up on the thread depth until it fits. I basically got this, put some oil, not cutting oil, but whey oil on the tips of the dead center and the live center. It's just snug in there. I can move it as long as I've got it up against the, I notice I've seen some people put wedges in here. I don't particularly like that, just because if it accidentally sling it out, it's a projectile and it can hit you. So once it's turning, you got it started, it stays place, get it turned. But right now we got to turn this down. I've already ended up cutting a witness mark here to kind of get me close to where when I get close to it. I also got a dial indicator with a mag base on it on the way, and I got it set. I'll stop it short about 10 thousandths to the final length, and then when I get down to the final diameter, I'll end up bringing it all the way up to 0 for the final length, facing cut off that edge, and that's what we'll do. So start off with, I'm basically going to cut this down back to the distance I need and get it to the diameter. So basically putting this witness mark in, I did that a little too early, wasn't thinking. I'm going to cut the hose shaft down close back to here, give me a little extra room, cut it down to 1.5 inches. That's the size of the head of the screw. Once I get that down to size, then we'll come back, and I'll re-accomplish and put the witness mark on it and cut that down to 743 thousandths, and then we'll be ready to start doing some threading. I don't need this right now. Premature. Come over and touch off. I'm going to start off with a 100 thousandths. Setting my dial on my cross feed. Dial in 100 thousandths. Add some cutting oil. This might be too much. We'll see what it does when it starts. I might have to back off. Actually, that's a little slow on the feed. Looks like to be taking it pretty good, so I'll stick with that right now. I'll bring you in a little bit different view. I've already took the first pass on the shaft that's going to receive the threading. I thought I was videoing it, but my camera stopped. It got full, so I had to end up stopping and going download the files so we can get started again. So I'm going to start back up and make a pass here. And we're taking this down to 743 thousandths, and I believe right now we're at a 1 inch 400 thousandths, so we got quite a bit to go. I'm setting up for my final pass. Going to be somewhere around 7 thousandths. I'm going to be taking off to get it down to 743 thousandths, or a little, maybe just about a half a thousandths less than that. Also, I got this Starrett surface gauge here with a acid brush I just put on the end of it. I found out that I set that right in the path on the back side where I'm cutting, and I keep it drenched with oil, and it keeps me having to use so much oil, and it makes sure it keeps a good path of oil on the cutter, and it end up giving me a really good surface. So I'll let you see how that works. Acid brush sat up, so doing a real good job. I like that. I'll have to continue using that technique. Quick measurement, see if we got what we need. Look good. I like the surface that did that. I don't really have to do any polishing on that. That looks good. I'm going to come back and do just a real fine pass on the head of the screw here. Get that same clear. I stated earlier that I was going to, on my last pass, I was going to come in 10 thousandths, clean that up. I got to thinking I got to cut me a relief for the threads to have a place to end at when I stop it, when I'm threading, to be able to back out without messing up the threads. I've got a radius cutter that I'm going to plunge down to do that. Then I'll come in with that radius cutter, and that'll give me a good radius at the transition from this piece coming into the sidewall, and it makes for a stronger piece. You end up having a real sharp corner. It's an area that could fracture on you, so that's what I'm going to do when I tool up to end up cutting that relief. I'm going to go ahead and take a light pass on that. I won't show it. It's no different than the rest of it I've done. I'll bring you back. I'm going to end up putting a I think it's about 6.5 degree angle on this end, cut it down. That's just going to copy the way the original part is. It allows the threads to able to start a lot easier into the vise nut. So when I get ready to set up to do the relief and cut that angle, I'll probably cut the angle first. I'll bring you back for that.